This year's Premier League champions were of course Manchester City, and our luck index reinforced their dominance. We actually found that they would have been 3 points better off breaking the 100-point barrier.
And we've seen two of the greatest club performances in Premier League history this season in City and in Liverpool. The luck index found that, if anything, City were a little bit unlucky and should have had a little more points. And this goes beyond, for example, just to make this clear, I mean, you brought this up, Mark, off air, but the Mahrez missed penalty, that doesn't factor into it, into the luck index. Does the eye test match it, Robbo? I mean, were they really that much better than everybody else and Liverpool should have been far behind?
Not that much better than Liverpool, but
more than a point.
Maybe they had the game against Leicester where one of the goals in the build-up, Albrighton scored, there was a foul and it shouldn't have been allowed. A game they would probably have won. They had so many chances in that game, they missed chances, they had a bit of bad luck, so that was the game probably where it could have taken them to a few more points or a couple more points. But generally, their play was magnificent, and they buy their own luck by the style of football, the way they can get the ball from back to front so easily, the way they can change their style of play.
They don't buy very much if they've been unlucky.
So I think they're an outstanding side. Were they lucky just that one game? But that was
unlucky.
Unlucky. They were unlucky in that one game. Yeah.
I mean, I think that were they more points better than Liverpool? I think that the one thing that struck me during the running was, this was two great teams. I think it's the best title race since '99 when Arsenal and Man United went so close together. I mean, they're two great teams as well. But then, 20 years on, I think that City were probably further ahead than the league table show, because during the running, although they both won their games, City for me were winning games at 70%. They were coasting it again. They never looked like in danger of losing a game. Whereas Liverpool, they really had to strain. The Tottenham game and other games where they really showed their qualities to win those games. But Liverpool were at 9 out of 10 effort and maximum, almost maximum kind of, just pushing everything. Whereas City just coasted through. So I think there was a difference. But the results say that Liverpool won as many games almost as City. So, but I just think there was more of a gap, and the luck index suggests that City should have been a bit further.
And the thing that Man City have got, Klopp is obviously an outstanding manager, but Pep Guardiola is inventive. I mean, he's so creative with what he does. They do things that other teams haven't come across so far and can't replicate, because the way they create space at the back, the way they play out from the back, the way that they put players in sort of wide areas and they leave the space open for the forwards, just the ball to be played into their forwards, and they create 3 versus 3.5 a pitch. Yeah, I mean, it's magnificent the way they do those things.
I don't think there's any question that, I'm not saying Liverpool are one-dimensional by any means. They're very multi-dimensional, but City can beat you so many more ways than Liverpool, and obviously that's an advantage.
Who would you be more frightened to play against if you were a coach? It'd be Man City.
Yeah.
And the one team that Liverpool didn't beat last season was Liverpool, and you could argue that had Mahrez put that penalty in at Anfield, they would have won both games, and that would have been more of a reflection of the gulf between, not a gulf, but the gap between the teams.
And Melissa, I don't think I'm outing anybody when I reveal some of your sensibilities. A, are you on board in this? And B, I'm going to suggest this as a possible explanation, especially what Mark said about the run-in. Let's not forget, City were watching the Champions League on television. Liverpool, even though all Liverpool fans said no, the league was a priority, blah, 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 but surely that took something out of Liverpool.
I always felt from early on, actually from around October, November, that for Liverpool to be within touching distance of Manchester City was an incredible thing for them to be able to do, because the City side are remarkable. I actually think one of their greatest strengths is they're relentless, and that's why they don't let up. They're not happy with, we've hit the 100-point mark, we can relax now. And as the luck index showed, they should have hit a century again. And then for them to continuously go and to take it to the final day of the season with resources and a squad nowhere near as deep as City, I thought, full credit to Liverpool. I do think the Champions League, if City stayed in it, would have made it interesting, because they were obviously so desperate.
Let's reverse the scenario. Yeah. City stay in the Champions League and Liverpool go out. Are Liverpool champions at the quarterfinals?
I think being in the Champions League helped sustain Liverpool and propel them, because they had such big performances that it actually
it's so difficult.
Drove more out of them.
So difficult to say. I think Liverpool were desperate to win a trophy, whichever one it was of the two. Obviously, supporters wanted the league more, players wanted the Champions League more, especially the players that aren't from England. They were just so desperate to underscore a phenomenal season with something to show some reward for it. City are obviously further ahead in their development as well. Pep Guardiola has been there longer, and City's structure, you know, we're speaking earlier about United and the contrast with Liverpool, but City are also a brilliant example, and possibly the one United should follow because they have the financial might. City cherry pick the best talent for all their, you know, executive positions to create the perfect scenario for their dream manager to flourish. And what we're seeing on the pitch from them is a result of all the great decisions they've made off the pitch.
What about if Guardiola decided to take a sabbatical at some point? Would Man City still win the title?
I think they'd find it incredibly difficult without him, because he is so much a part of what they've built for, and how and their identity at the moment is infused with his identity. So even though the structures are there in place, and I think obviously, you know, they'll continue and City will be a threat for a long time, I think he is the factor that just makes them.
I agree. I think if you take Pep out of the equation, I think City are, you know, are drawn back into the park. But I do think one thing that maybe helped Liverpool last season, which might go against them this coming season, is that a lot of their players had a kind of either didn't go to the World Cup, you know, Van Dijk, Wijnaldum, or they had a kind of a smaller work rate. So Salah was out in the group stage, Mane was out in the group stage. So I remember when they played Tottenham at Wembley in August, I think it was. Spurs had about 7 or 8 players who were just on the back of the World Cup.
And Spurs were terrible that day, weren't they?
Exactly. Liverpool had a fresher team, but this summer you've got a lot of players at the African nations, a lot of players at the Copa America. Will Liverpool get the flip side of that in the coming season, where a lot of their players have missed the pre-season and report back at the beginning of August, where last year they had the advantage of fresher legs, fresher minds? That might be a factor this season which Liverpool have to overcome, which they didn't have to do last season. And plus as well, the Super Cup, the Club World Cup, a lot more kind of drain on the resources this year.
Time will tell.